Hi, and welcome back to the Forging Indestructible Self-Discipline podcast. I'm glad you're here today because this episode touches on something that almost nobody enjoys talking about anymore, but every successful and dependable adult eventually has to come to terms with, and that's responsibility. Not the glamorous version of responsibility that gets celebrated online with motivational speeches and highlight reels. I mean the ordinary, daily responsibilities that are repetitive, inconvenient, boring, exhausting, and sometimes deeply frustrating. The things that simply have to be done, whether we feel inspired or not. One of the biggest signs of maturity is understanding that life is not built around constant personal preference. There are many things we do not get to opt out of simply because we don't feel like doing them. Bills still need to be paid, dishes still need to be cleaned, work still needs to be completed, children still need care and guidance, commitments still matter. A healthy and functioning life depends on people consistently handling responsibilities that are often tedious and unexciting. Self-discipline begins when we stop asking whether we're in the mood and start asking whether the task needs to be done. A major problem in modern culture is that many people are being conditioned to believe that discomfort automatically means something is wrong. If a task feels difficult, repetitive, stressful, or emotionally draining, some people immediately search for a way to try to escape it. But responsibility often feels uncomfortable. That's normal. In fact, some of the most important parts of adulthood are built entirely on doing necessary things that are not personally enjoyable. Real discipline means understanding that your feelings are not always the highest authority in your life. Sometimes your obligations matter more than your temporary emotional state. This becomes even more important when other people are helping support parts of your life. Maybe parents are still helping out financially. Maybe a spouse is carrying a heavier burden while you get back on your feet. Maybe coworkers are compensating for your lack of reliability. Maybe society itself is providing systems and opportunities that make your life possible. If other people are sacrificing, contributing, or depending on you in some way, then responsibility is no longer just personal. It becomes moral. A mature person recognizes that they cannot endlessly consume the efforts of others while refusing to carry their own share of the load. One of the harsh realities of life is that irresponsibility rarely stays isolated. It spreads. When somebody neglects their responsibilities, somebody else usually has to absorb the consequences. If one person refuses to work hard, another person often works harder to compensate. If someone refuses to manage their finances responsibly, eventually family members may suffer the consequences. If a parent neglects their role, children carry emotional scars for years. We live in a connected world where our actions affect others far more than we sometimes want to admit. Responsibility is not just about personal achievement. It's also about reducing unnecessary burdens on the people around us. Now, this does not mean becoming emotionless or pretending exhaustion does not exist. Everyone gets tired. Everyone struggles. Everyone occasionally wants to avoid difficult tasks. That is part of being human. And the goal is not perfection. The goal is developing the ability to act responsibly despite resistance. Self-discipline is built in these ordinary moments when you complete the workout you wanted to skip, clean the house when you would have rested, keep your word when backing out would be easier, or handle a difficult conversation instead of avoiding it. These small moments slowly shape your character. They build trust within yourself and with others. There's also something deeply empowering about accepting responsibility instead of constantly resisting it. The more we avoid responsibility, the weaker and more overwhelmed we tend to feel. Tasks pile up, stress increases, anxiety grows. We begin feeling like life is controlling us. But when we face responsibilities directly, even imperfectly, we regain a sense of control and stability. Responsibility creates structure. Structure creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Over time, disciplined responsibility becomes less about force and more about identity. You become someone who handles what needs to be handled. At the end of the day, a mature life is not built only on passion, motivation, or inspiration. It is built on reliability. It is built on becoming the kind of person who can be counted on even when circumstances are difficult. The truth is that much of life consists of doing necessary things that we would not choose in the moment. But that is where character is formed. That is where self-respect is earned. The people who build strong lives are usually not the people who enjoy every responsibility they face. They are the people who accept that some duties are simply part of being an adult and carry on anyway. I want to thank you for listening to Forging Indestructible Self-Discipline. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who is working to become more dependable, resilient, and disciplined in their own life. And remember this: strength is not measured by how often we do what we enjoy. Strength is often measured by our willingness to consistently do what must be done. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you later.